All right, hello and welcome back to Twin Cities Territory, your Minnesota Twins podcast here on the Foul Territory Network. I am Zack Pierce, editor at The Athletic, and joined as always by Dan Hayes, The Athletic's Minnesota Twins beat writer. Tyler Duffy is at the dentist today, guys.
Yes.
But we hope to have him back on Friday's show. It is Thursday today, April 30th. We're coming to you a day later than usual in the week. Had a little trouble finding a time to record yesterday during what ended up being another in a long string of Twins bummers. Dan, they lost for the 11th time in 13 games. Lost the series to Seattle after winning the opener. Lost the last two games. And it's been a frustrating trend for the Twins. A good start. We're winning the game late, and then the bullpen coughed it up. The bats couldn't keep putting runs on the board. And the Twins, who were once the American League's best team, a week and a half ago, have slipped back to fourth place now in the AL Central. Still just 2.5 games behind first in a division that has not gotten off the ground yet. But Dan, what's the mood like in the clubhouse right now?
Yeah, it would have been so much cooler if we could carry out our original plan yesterday, which was start taping when the Twins were winning, or start taping when the Twins win, essentially. Like we were ready to record, and then the bullpen blew up again. And it was like the urgency for me to have to go downstairs went from if they win and they win a series, okay, I want to go hear one person talk and I can bounce. It's no big deal. To, man, another bullpen disaster and got to be down there and kind of take in the clubhouse. And it was quiet. I think guys are still, they're encouraged by the fact that they're in games, but we saw this in that first week when they went the first 10 games or 9 games when they went 3-6. They were in games, but they weren't converting their big opportunities, especially in those rubber matches of series. And when those get away, it's a definite difficult time. You can tell it wears on a team. And now this is 4 series in a row that they've lost. And, you look at the bullpen. It played a big role in 2 of those 3 losses against the Reds a couple weekends back at home. And it played a role in the losses here against Seattle the last 2 days. And, you get a tight game. Joe Ryan pitched on Tuesday night, and that went away. And then Eric Orsi came in with the lead in the 9th yesterday, and they liked it because he is a splitter, but he couldn't locate the splitter. Like first 6 or 7 pitches, his command was off. He talked about that. He walked the first guy in 4 pitches. Can't do that in a 1-run game. And it led to the infield being drawn in because there were runners on second and third. And typically a ball that is in a double play ball turned into the game-winning single. And like he said I put myself in that position. So a very challenging time. And I think that, yeah, they were a little deflated, but I also think that, Taj Bradley said it, and Taj Bradley pitched a great game. He said, we're going through it right now, but also we're trying to line things up and figure out how to be on the other side. And I think that we'll be on the other side of these 1-run games and down the season. That's optimistic, but also that's a guy that's out there and part of it. So he wasn't sugarcoating anything. I think that there really is belief. They've already shown they can win some of these games before, but they are in a rut right now. And it is one of those painful ones for fans where you just, Ron Davis, right? The late game that hurts a fan base more than anything. The late game losses when the bullpen doesn't come through.
The 4.3 percenters are bruised and beaten, but not completely defeated yet. We're still hanging on by a thread. The bullpen issues have really been there all year, Dan, and obviously when you're winning 8 out of 9 games as they were earlier this month, those issues are sort of masked a little bit. I think statistically, pretty much throughout the season, the bullpen has been near the bottom of the AL in terms of most major metrics, but there's been a lot, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about starting pitching later in the show, but just a lot of games during this stretch where they have been handed a lead and it just haven't been able to keep it. And part of that is the bats haven't been able to help them keep it, but I actually should have looked up exactly how many times that's happened, but a handful of games in this slump have been cases of starting pitching doing very well and leaving them in good
Yeah.
shape, and then the bullpen not being able to finish it off.
I mean, those roles, and we've talked about it before, are undefined. And there's not much velo in the bullpen right now. Andrew Morris is the hard throwing guy in the bullpen, and he's in a long man role because he's a rookie and he's just getting his feet wet. And do I think there's could be opportunity for more chances for him as he goes further along, to especially because he throws hard, and that's an anomaly. I mean, the Seattle Riders are two of my closest friends, and they said guys were knowing that the Twins are spin-based pitchers in the bullpen. There's not a lot of velocity to beat you with, and so they were waiting for mistakes with the spin. They were looking for spin up, and they got, especially the night before Cole Sands gave up the 3-run homer to, I think it was Josh Naylor. It's Derek Shelton described it as a challenge. And I think I said, what's the challenge like? And he said, that's a good word, challenge. He's like, we have to mix and match, and we have to find the right lanes for guys. And bullpens can operate that way, but having some velocity too to mix in really, really does matter. And that's one area where the Twins are kind of lacking right now. And look, you've seen Cleveland put together bullpens that were 75% based on spin. It's how you know names like Otero, Manship. Those guys would come out of the season with a 180 ERA and they're throwing frisbees, right? You can those guys have a purpose, but having velocity helps because it masks some of that stuff. And it's not all guys who are there are different arm slots, and the Twins have different looks without question with these guys and with their spin. But also, you're still setting teams to look for off speed, no matter who the pitcher is, and going with that game's plan. And mistakes happen. And Eric Orsi didn't control his splitter, and that's his go-to pitch. And you walk the leadoff guy in 4 pitches and get down to a point where Cole Young again can make an impact. And Cole Young had the game-tying double off Bradley, then he had the 2-run single to win it. He's had big hits. This is a guy who debuted against the Twins in Seattle last year in May, and it feels like every time there's a big moment, he's coming up and producing in it for them, and he's certainly getting the Twins. So, I get how this must be frustrating for the manager and the general manager and everybody involved, because there's not a lot you can do right now as far as adding velocity. I mean, it's just you maybe promote some more young guys, but they still have to go through it and learn this. It's not like you can just throw there's not Yohan Duran in the minor leagues that's throwing 104 that you can just insert and he can dominate right there from day one. And the Twins were so fortunate to run into Yohan Duran in that trade. It was a great trade. It was in the Eduardo Escobar trade from 2018 deadline. But even that took 4 years for Duran to become Duran. So it's not something that can get fixed overnight unless you can acquire somebody. And we're not at a point in the season where that usually happens. So it's definitely challenging. Again, why don't you tell me as a fan, how difficult is it when your team is winning a game and it ends up going that way? What is that experience like?
I mean, I think it obviously happens, and you understand that as a fan, but the fact that it feels inevitable basically every time out at this point is the frustrating part, especially paired with the knowledge that they tore the bullpen down last year, and that this is just not a crew that has the talent that they had last year. And obviously, the game comes down to starting pitching, bullpen, and hitting. It's not a brilliant comment that I just made, but for a week and a half there, the starting pitching and the hitting was carrying them. Now the hitting has slowed down, and look what happens. They've got 2 out of 3 phases that are just not bringing it. And it's not an ideal time to fix it. I think that's absolutely accurate, but I think we'll talk more about this later. But as the team, if the team continues to slide, I don't think there's going to be much motivation to fix it as much as like continue to try to retool the system for a run at the 2028 playoffs or whatever it might be. But we have a lot to get to still. We're going to talk about some more great starts that have gone to waste from the starting pitching. We're going to talk about that offense a little more and a few other topics. But first, a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, the MLB season is in full swing, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home of home runs. So are you ready to play your game? Head over to FanDuel.com/podcast to get started. That's FanDuel.com/podcast to opt in for daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. We are back. Starting pitching, Dan. I looked up and tweeted out a stat yesterday that that's all I should do on social media is send stats. It's all people react to from my account anyway. But yesterday, Wednesday against Seattle was the sixth straight game in which the Twins had a starting pitcher go 6 innings or more and allow I looked up allow 3 runs or less, the old quality start metric. Do we still use that, Dan, or is that frowned upon?
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. It's still there.
It's still there. Okay, but so the last 6 times that has happened this season, it's happened 12 times overall. The last 6 times it's happened, the Twins have lost the game despite getting that kind of a start from what has been a great starting rotation. And actually, all 6 times in that span, they allowed 2 runs or less. There were none in that stretch where 3 were allowed. So that happened again yesterday with Taj Bradley. It happened Tuesday with Joe Ryan, who on Tuesday Ryan left a where did I have that written down? He went 6 innings. He left. It was a 1-1 game. The Twins lost 7-1.
His inherited run scored. Like Cody Funderburk couldn't strand the runner, and so Joe took the loss, but left when it was 1-1. Correct. Yeah.
And then yesterday, Bradley left a 2-2 game. Twins took the lead in the 8th, but then the 3-run 9th for the Mariners.
Right, he was in line for the win. That was like a nice moment. And
yep.
So look, we'll get into the offensive part in a second because that's where this is all from. And you mentioned earlier the starting pitching and the offense were going great, and Twins were winning. But with the offense doing what it's doing right now, we're seeing the Twins play tight games versus earlier in the year where they didn't. The bullpen could be masked by the fact that they were winning by 3-4 runs, and now they're playing in 1-run games, and it's not going as well. I didn't get to use the stat. Bullpen is now 4-8 overall. They have blown 4 of their 9 save opportunities, their true save opportunities. It's 5.30 ERA for the bullpen. And yesterday, Gleeman tweeted out a stat with their ranks, and let me just find it. It was not promising. Twins ERA is 27th. Their expected ERA is 28th. Their expected FIP is 26th. Their strikeout rate, because they don't have any gas really in that bullpen, is 28th. Their average against is 30th. Their win probability added, so the stat that we can measure how much they impact the game, they are 28th. And his commentary was that's what it looks like when you trade essentially the entire bullpen's deadline and do almost nothing to rebuild it. And look, the Twins cobbled it together. They pieced together their bullpen. And I will make the argument that they really didn't find out about the offseason plans, what the new ownership wanted, until a lot of the notable guys were gone. But like Gleeman pointed out, but you still had $3 and $4 million guys out there like Jacob Junis is a guy that is out there and pitching well. I think he got $4 million. There are those kind of guys still there. The Twins first added Taylor Rogers on the 23rd of January. They traded for Eric Orsi, who I do think is going to end up being one of the better guys in the bullpen. I know yesterday's struggles were not good. I traded for him on November 18th, and then they traded for Bonda on February 12th. He's had some encouraging outings. The velocity is starting to come back. He's a guy that can have velocity, but they pieced it together, and so this isn't shocking. Like we shouldn't be surprised that this is what's happened. It's an unfortunate symptom because there's been great starting pitching. That whole series, Connor Prelip was really promising again. Man, his curveball, he had command of it to pair with the slider. Joe Ryan has told us all year he hasn't actually felt totally on. He's still searching in his delivery. And yet Joe Ryan is capable of pitching into the seventh inning and allowing 2 runs. And Taj Bradley threw 114 or 115 pitches yesterday, career high, and was outstanding. And it's unfortunate. Like this is the kind of rotation that could keep a team in the race all season long if the other parts were there. And so, yeah, it is. It's got to be frustrating for fans, for the team, to see their guys give them a chance. And the offense isn't. They were 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position yesterday, and they were 0 for 10 the night before that. And that stat has gone the wrong direction for this 11 of 13 stretch. So it all adds up. It's not just the bullpen's fault. Like the offense needs to be doing what it was doing earlier in the year. And there's so many guys in that group that are struggling. Randomest stat is that Byron Buxton is 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position. He batted. It was 3-2 after the Caratini had the pinch hit single. Royce Lewis drew a walk to load the bases. Byron Buxton hit one, and I think it got caught in the warning track in the bottom of the 8th inning. It was close to going out, and that would have been just an epic way to end what is such a weird streak, because Byron Buxton had a 984 OPS last year with runners in scoring position, and he's sitting here 0 for 19 to start the year, which is just. I think it's an outlier because there's a lot of he's still hitting home runs. He's still doing a lot of Byron Buxton things. He's not coming through with runners in scoring position right now, and that's a weird stat that you think there will be a course correction in.
Right, like in so many ways, he's been their least problematic offensive player of the last few weeks. All 7 of his home runs have come in the last 15 games, I believe. He's hitting a lot better than he did to start the season, but that is a team epidemic right now. They were, and we, I go back to the show where we asked if they could keep this up, and we talked about what were the question marks that we had about whether the first place, the AL Central leading Twins were real or not. And one of the things we mentioned was runners in scoring position. They were. I had the stats somewhere. So we always have the stats somewhere, Dan. We just have to find it.
Oh,
through April 14th, which was right after their 8th win in 9 games. 307 with runners in scoring position, which was number 1 in the league. Since then, it's there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. But they're 204 since this stretch of 11 losses in 13 games began. That's 28th in baseball. So that's really it. If you're hitting 100 points higher in that stretch too, you probably have won, at least a handful more of those games.
Correct.
And we're not talking
pulled away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or the 1-run games went the other way because you got the hit with the bases loaded when you needed to. But they haven't been able to do it, I think. But didn't Buxton had in a bat with the bases loaded late yesterday, I believe.
He flew out. He flew. It was that 8th inning, and and in the one win, this team against Seattle, they went 5 for 12 with runners in scoring position. They had a good game, one of those ones that props up. So that 204 is propped up by a game where they had a 400 average. So that means really, aside from that win, it's probably about 180 with runners in scoring position. It's not been good. And it's another thing that the bullpen frustrates fans. Leaving runners on frustrates fans. And man, there was some of that in Tampa, especially in the Friday night loss at Tampa. But it felt like there was not a lot of opportunities the other 2 days. And This series, that was not the case. The Twins had chances. Seattle did what they were supposed to do in those chances, especially starting late in Tuesday night's game, after Joe Ryan was out. I mean, they scored 5 runs off of Funderburk gave up Ryan's run, but Sands came in, gave up a run, or gave up 3. Luis Garcia, and there's an interesting nugget there. They acquired him. They selected his contract for that game that night from AAA. 39-year-old, 10 years of service time in the major leagues. He started the day at St. Paul, where they had an 11 a.m. game, and he did not pitch in that game, but he definitely, threw and played catch in the morning, and then went over to the Twins for the night game and did pitch in it, gave up 2 runs in that game. We found out post-game yesterday, or maybe Audra Martin found out, sidelines reporter, that Luis Garcia's wife had a baby during the middle of the day, but she's at home she's at home in the DR, I believe. I think that I don't know enough about him, but I think he's from DR, and I know she's at home, and she had the baby basically in between games, and so that's like the longest day ever. He gave up 2 runs in the 9th inning of that 7-1 loss. But what a day! That's a crazy day to get back to the majors. But yeah, anyways, sorry. That's just a little side note there. You saw the bullpen give up the 5. Seattle just did what it had to. Their clutch performers came through in big spots. Naylor hit the 3-run homer off Cole Sands to make a 2-1 game, a 5-1 game. They added on against Garcia. They did it yesterday. Cole Young came through with the game-tying double off of Bradley, which I loved Shelton giving Bradley the opportunity there to get through the 7th inning. And he did. He just got a 1 batter later. But I loved Shelton giving Bradley a chance where he's at a career-high pitch to trust in him. And it does say something about the state of the bullpen that he trusted him there. Because if you had last year's group, you would have pulled Bradley and tried to get Cole Young out with somebody else. But also that's a vote of confidence, and it says how good Taj Bradley is right now. It was a nice bounce back for him after the struggling in Tampa, where he gave up the 4 homers and 6 runs. But his off speed looked good. His velo, he was pumping 98-mile-an-hour fastballs at the end of his 115 pitch outing. That was a very good showing from him. And he's looking like someone that's going to be headed to, I think it's Philadelphia for the All-Star game. If he can keep this up, like, he's looking like one of their best options as a potential All-Star.
Todd, Father, it's getting a little warm out. That means let's hit some concerts, let's hit some baseball games, and where am I going to go to find those tickets? And if you want to sing the answer, you can.
We're going to see it. Hey, listen, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is getting warmer, and people want to leave the house, and it's time to leave. Go see a ball game. And guess where you can find the best tickets, best spots, best places to go? SeatGeek's got it all, man. They got their red and their green signs letting you know what's good and bad, all that good kind of stuff. They make it really simple for you at the end of the day. For a guy like me who's running around, I just need 5 minutes. Bing, bang, boom. I got my seats.
Yeah, each ticket's rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. And, of course, the code for you, Territory10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and then have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek, MLB's official ticket marketplace.
The Twins, I should point out, are still 10th overall in baseball in hitting with runners in scoring position. It's just been very feast or famine. So, with that, we'll pivot to another topic we wanted to touch on, which obviously, as we head towards the trade deadline, which is a little weird to say, but it is May tomorrow, so it's we're getting there. I think, Dan, when the Twins started that, or were on that hot streak, it was easy to start to think of building this team up at the trade deadline, as they have kind of regressed back to they are what we thought they were. Territory. Fans are probably already bracing themselves for fire sale 2.0. Tom Pohlad, of course, now is the Pohlad in charge of all those decisions for the Twins. You wrote a story on him the other day that anytime you put his name on paper is going to spark a reaction from fans. And I know you wanted to say a few words about that.
Yeah, when I write those stories, I know what the reactions could be. I know that the fans, don't want to read about the Pohlads. I understand. I mean, there's more sell the team comments in everything we're writing these days on social media. Like, I get it. The one thing that is different here, as far as a media perspective, is that there's an owner who is talking and we have access to him. I think so. I covered this team this is my 9th season. We got Jim Pohlad one time at Twins Fest in 2018. I can't remember the next time I talked to Jim Pohlad on the record. It's not that he wasn't around, because Jim Pohlad was at all the games in his suite, but owners don't typically make themselves available. Joe Pohlad talked occasionally. That led to a lot of headlines the Twins didn't want. Tom Pohlad talks, and here's the one reason why it's important to keep talking to him. He's talking about an aggressive mindset. Say what you will about the offseason. He came in December 17th, and that's, as far as attacking the big names in free agency, they're not there really at that point. Especially in the reliever market, it was super aggressive reliever market where at the winter meetings, a lot of the notable guys had signed. But he talks about this aggressive mindset, and he came in at a time where, the way that they would have to have been aggressive is by trades. And I'm not shocked that they didn't pursue building back up via trade after trading away and, kind of restocking the cabinets. That it doesn't shock me that that's not a route they explored. But he keeps talking about an aggressive mindset and saying he owes it to Jeremy Zoll, he owes it to Derek Shelton, he owes it to the fans to give them the team they deserve. And what's notable to me about that is that he just keeps saying it. And right now, there's no real way to prove that. But when he says this, it's something that we can then analyze how they act at the trade deadline. And even more importantly, probably is next year in the offseason, because he's on record as saying, we want to do this for our fans. We want to do this for the people in that clubhouse. And he's got to back up that talk, and it will be scrutinized. And it's a public record to have him on. And I think that's valuable. Like, I absolutely think that getting the owner to, it's a little, I'm a little surprised by how much they're saying it, because they're really putting it out there. That's what they want to do. Well, now you can hold them up to that and say, look, is this what aggressive looks like? Is there more? Do you think this was enough? And I think that's the true value in it. And I understand people don't want to read it. But I asked about it because I watched Tom Pohlad. Monday was yet another miserable game to sit in the stands. And there he is wearing a poncho, sitting in the front row by himself in the rain the whole time. He'd disappear for, a couple minutes at the time and go into the Champions Club and warm up. And I know he grabbed a blanket because he said his hands were freezing. It tested his will. But he really wanted to be out there and sit through it. And Dave St. Peter used to do a lot of the same thing sitting in his suite. He would insist on the window being open. And Matt Hoy, one of the guys that works with who runs Target Field essentially, and sat with St. Peter all the time. And even on the coldest nights, they had the window open. And Matt was like, yeah, Dave would always say, if they're sitting through it, we should be too. And so I think Tom Pohlad wants to do that. I think he wants to show the fans he's in this. And, you make of that whatever you want. I think Twins fans, and you can kind of speak to this because I want to hear the fan opinion. I think Twins fans probably want to see actions and not hear about them, especially at this point with this family. But, he's out there. He's doing this stuff, and it's important to capture it so that we can talk about it later and when it's time to actually review things, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's fascinating that he is putting himself out there as much as he is.
Sure. That's a good, deep breath. First of all, I don't speak for all fans, of course. We all look at it different ways. Like, there's some who will not buy a single word of it until something happens to prove otherwise,
and they shouldn't. I get that.
And there's others like my mom would never have cared about, like, the free. She didn't care about any of that. She just whoever's on the field, she's going to watch him and cheer for him. There's all kinds of fans in between. I think like he says all this stuff. That's great. It's great that he's out there. It's great that he's putting himself on the record. He is new, at least in the sense of he's a different Pohlad than we've heard from before. But it sure seems like this team is being set up to be torn down again. The way that they made all the moves last year and now here we are. They are what we thought they were, et cetera, et cetera. So but when you look at the team right now, like you got a good thing going on with that starting rotation. So if you mean that, like don't sell it for parts, like that's a starting point a lot of teams would love to have is at least how it looks. I mean, obviously we'll see if Mick Abel can keep it up. We'll see if Connor Prelip can keep it up, who we haven't talked about yet, but got his first major league win after we recorded on Monday. But if you mean it, at the very least, at the deadline, don't tear it down. Give yourself a chance in the offseason to take the stuff that's good and build from it. So I guess, yeah, like I'm not going to take the pitchforks out just yet. I definitely, it's all talk to me until it's not. But
right.
But like I think it is fair that between the start of the season and now he hasn't had much chance to do anything about it. But the first thing he might have to do about it is to not touch it at the trade deadline,
right.
Or at least not give away the promising parts that can help this team soon. But if they're 15 games under 500 in July, I don't know. We'll see. So, and you're right. Like keep him on the record, Dan. You and all the people going down there and talking to him whenever he talks. Like keep him on the record and keep him saying those things, and then we can reassess, I guess.
That's all that I think. It's all you can do, right? They're trying to turn this around. That's what he wants to do. That's what he says he wants to do. And the only way you can do that is with actions. So we'll see if they are able to come through on this. And I get why fans are skeptical, and I get why they don't want to hear it. I'm feel like this is a opportunity to just keep them talking, and that is important because it's rare. It just really is rare, and
it's the connection to the ownership that makes it like. He doesn't get the same leash that another new person would in that role because
correct. A brand new owner, you're giving them every benefit of the doubt because it's different. Like the Angelos is sold in Baltimore, and David Rubenstein took over 2 years ago and was like, he's gonna come in with money. And then the first year was a little disappointing. And fans, okay, well, we'll give him a year. This is not the case. This is a family that's owned it since '84. So even though it's a new point person, and I do think it's it's gonna be interesting to see how his mindset plays out. But it's still the family. So I get why the pitchforks are still there. I get why. I think he does. He said it. He's like, I asked him about fan interactions, and he said 99% of them positive. And I'm sure that there have been some negative ones, people yelling from different parts across the stadium, that kind of stuff. I'm sure there have been more than 1% negative, but he said most of his fan interactions have been positive, and he said, and the ones that have been negative, he said, I understand where it's rooted in, and it's rooted in a good place because these are just frustrated fans that want better for their team. And he's like, I want that too. All right, great. This is good stuff that we're hearing. Prove it. That's it. Prove it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all.
And he may be entirely sincere with all of that. And I think fans still say, okay, well, when you go back to the Pohlad compound and say, hey guys, here's what I want to do. I want to go this direction instead of this direction. What's the reaction going to be, and is it actually going to happen? But
right,
like we'll see.
Correct, and it's fascinating stuff. It is fascinating stuff, especially in the middle of a 13 and 18 start to the season where the bullpen is frustrating and the offense isn't doing everything it needs to do with runners in scoring position. Like, can't cover the same game over and over and tell a good story when there are other stories to tell.
Right. I imagine the Pohlads living in like a Mr. Burns type estate, but I don't know. We'll see. Smithers. Toronto's in town. With that, we'll transition to Toronto's in town for 4 games. tonight is Bailey Ober against Kevin Gossman. And we will be back again tomorrow morning. So we'll just have the one game to talk about. We'll find some other things to talk about. Might have to do Name That Twin round 2. We'll see if I can put that together by tomorrow. But 11 losses in 13 games. Twins will try to get back on track. Dan, anything you're looking forward to in this series?
No, I more want to hear if Tyler had any cavities.
Yes. Oh, yes. We'll get the. I almost texted him and said, "Can you have your dentist call us and give us the report?" But there might be some HIPAA laws or something involved with that. So,
well, this is a good PSA chance. Kids, floss. Remember to floss.
Yes, I definitely want to hear what his flossing situation is like. So, we have a lot of good stuff planned for tomorrow's show. Thanks everybody for listening. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, toss us a comment, any feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And we will see you on Friday's show. Bye-bye, everybody.